Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Meeting with the Manager. I'm City Manager Eric Tungate. On this month's show, I have the honor of welcoming in our new state representative, Robert Wittenberg, as well as always, our Director of Public Safety, Steve Cooper. Before I welcome in our state representative, I'd like to say a few things about the current status of some very important initiatives throughout our city. First and foremost, as many of you may know, we just had our State of the City address. The prevailing message of that address is that there is a redeemed sense of hope and pride in the city of Oak Park. Our economic development initiatives are taking hold, and in fact, in the next few days, we'll be announcing a major economic development project that the mayor alluded to in her State of the City address. Among other things, public safety staff are being brought back from the layoffs in early 2012, and we're moving in an entirely new direction. This is an exciting time for our city, and I thank you for your patience and support during our difficult times. There are certainly positive things ahead. Well, I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you into the show. Thank you for coming.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Always good to see you.
Absolutely.
I'd like to start off, and oftentimes, you know, in these political offices, people don't really get an opportunity to meet you personally. So I'd like to ask you first and foremost, tell me about yourself. And I know you're an Oak Park resident, but tell me about your family and where you went to school and those kinds of things.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Proud Oak Park resident. I live over on Harding Street and grew up in this area. Actually went to Berkeley High School and graduated back in 1999 and went to Indiana University, so that's where I went to college. I live here. My mother still lives in Huntington Woods. My brother lives in Berkeley. My sister's in Huntington Woods. Again, I'm in Oak Park, so we're condensed right here in this little area. My dad's over in Clawson. He's kind of the outlier of the group. Yeah. But yeah, I grew up in this community, love this community. Representative Kogan-Lipton, who was our previous rep, she was term limited, did a wonderful job and hope to carry on that legacy. Some of the main issues that are kind of really important to me, one is getting money back to our local communities. Over the last, now it's like the last 11 years, $6 billion has been diverted away from our local municipalities. And I know that's something you've had to struggle with, and like you said, you're doing an amazing job given the circumstances that you were addressed with when you first started here, and the mayor and the council have all done an amazing job. But we want to kind of change that trend and get more money back to our local municipalities, because when a resident has an issue, they're not going to call me in Lansing if it's an emergency. They're not calling DC, they're not calling Lansing, they're calling their local government. We need the public safety officers. We need to continue providing those services that all of our residents come to expect and want, snow removal. So you need the resources to provide these services. That was one of the main things that I really ran on, and that's something I truly believe in. Also education. My mom is a third grade teacher. She teaches over in Warren Fitzgerald, obviously being a product of the public school system. My father used to serve on the local school board in Berkeley as well. And so I know the value of public education. And I also like to say, when you have good schools, that makes for safer communities, keeps property values up. So having good schools, having good public schools is a huge benefit for everyone in the community, even if you don't have kids that are in the schools. So, and then the last thing is protecting our seniors. I want all our seniors to be able to retire with financial security and dignity. And there was the pension tax that was implemented by our governor, and that's something that I really want to fight against. So those are some of the main issues. Again, growing up in this community, I love this community. I'm so happy to represent this community, a very progressive community. And so it's an honor to serve and represent this district in Lansing. And I tell all the residents, and I'll tell you, and you can let them all know as well, call me, reach out to me, email me. I'm always happy to help. If there's anything we can do, as much as, even as reading to the schools and the children, that's something we've been doing. And Dr. Colbert got us set up to read to some of the schools here in the Oak Park School District, and I've read with the Berkeley School District as well. So anything we can do to get involved in the community and help the community, I'm happy to do that. So I'm happy that you have me here today as well, and we can meet some of the residents of the district on their television set.
Absolutely. Well, and that really goes without saying, but one of the things I really like about you is you were reaching out and providing input and assistance even before you were in elected office.
Thank you.
And that's something that you don't often see, and I very much appreciate that. I wanted to ask you, though, just to take this down a little bit of a rabbit hole, but you talked a little bit about public finance, and I think it's no secret that local municipalities have been dramatically affected, not just by revenue sharing, but road funding and so forth.
Correct.
And on the road funding front, I'm curious where you stand on Proposal 1, and if it's approved, do you think it'll work, and so forth?
I am a supporter of Proposal 1. And yes, I think it'll work if it goes through. Again, this is on the May ballot that's coming up soon, and we have to get as many people out to the polls as possible. And I'm a supporter for many reasons. People will try to say there's special interest groups involved, but to me, some of the groups that they're talking about are things that I truly believe in and I think we need to support. Public education, again, money that goes through our K-12. There's going to be a lot of money built in that will go through our go towards our K-12 education here in the state of Michigan. Also, the money will stay with our K through 12 education. The money can't come out for higher education. So that's a little bit of a change. Again, money to fix our roads. Our roads are the worst in the country. I mean, they went from kind of, it was like, okay, Michigan has bad roads. Then we were kind of a laughing stock. Now it's a public safety issue. You have people, these potholes everywhere causing accidents. And you're seeing now with bridges that are collapsing. We are last in the United States in investment in infrastructure, per capita in infrastructure. So something has to change. And so this is a great way to do that. Again, for those that don't know, it'll increase our sales tax from 6% to 7%. But all the sales tax used to be on gasoline. That'll no longer be on there. The wholesale tax will change a bit. But the money at the pumps, everything you pay at the pump, will go directly to the roads. And there's also going to be money, like I said, for our education, for public transportation, which I think is vital to this region especially. So the whole Metro Detroit region, but for any big metropolitan area, you have to have a good public transportation system. So money for public transportation. Also, they're going to warranty the roads. When some of these contractors fix these roads, if they aren't up to standard or if something happens to them, then they're going to have to guarantee the work and they're going to have to go back and fix these roads, which is very important as well. We have the highest weight limit in the country for trucks, for our semi-trucks that are driving on our roads, and that doesn't help. I mean, they're causing some harm on the roads as well. So we're going to actually increase the fees that they have when they're driving on our roads. So that's money that'll go back to help our roads as well. So a lot of good things that are built in. Also the earned income tax credit, I can't forget that. I mean, that's something that really helps our working class families and lower income families. So a lot of great things that are built in to this proposal. I know the sales tax is a regressive tax. I understand that, but the taxes won't be on things like prescription medication, your rent or your mortgage, groceries. So those are some of the essential things. So a lot of great things built in, and again, like I said, our roads need to be fixed. It's also an economic development tool. I mean, how can businesses want to move to the state of Michigan when our roads are as terrible as they are currently, and our legislature and our government isn't willing to invest and update our infrastructure and our roads? So for all those reasons, and there's also a lot of other things. Obviously, it's a pretty, there's a lot of different things that are going on in this, and I understand everyone's concerned, because if they don't understand, then they're probably more apt to vote no. But I can tell you that all the things that are built into this proposal are all good for our local communities and for our roads throughout the state. So for that reason, I'm supporting this proposal.
And there are the TV ads, of course, being ran all over the state, and the one in particular claiming that this is nothing more than a boondoggle for special interests. What are your thoughts about that?
Again, to me, the special interests are interests that I think I believe in and we all believe in, giving money back to our local municipalities. I don't know if I had mentioned that in the first part, but money goes back to our local municipalities. Money goes towards our K through 12 education, money for public transportation, money for our lower income and working families. Those to me, aren't special interest groups. Those are important people, important issues, important things to us here in Michigan. So to me, I wouldn't say that those are special interest groups. I think those are all things that we really need to invest in, and that's where the money's going to go. So that's why I would never say that these are special interest groups.
You know, and I wanted to add too that in the city of Oak Park, if this passes, we've estimated that we'll see about almost $1 million of an additional road funding, local road funding here. And, you know, it's about $1 million a mile to reconstruct a road.
Yeah.
And, you know, Oak Park is, you know, the mayor says this all the time, and she's actually right. Says that the infrastructure is pretty top notch, especially compared to other communities. This will at least allow us on an ongoing basis to keep things moving and start rebuilding.
Right.
We are so far behind the 8 ball now that it's going to take years. And you know, you look at the freeway systems and so forth. A lot of the things you mentioned, it's in some dire straits out there.
And I agree. And part of this is, like I said, it's a public safety issue. But if we let this continue, if we let the roads deteriorate, it's going to cost us even more in the future, because we do have to fix them. We all know that it has to be addressed. But if we don't do it now, then we're back at square one, and we're going to have to wait a whole nother construction season at least until we can address it. And at that time, Michigan drivers, we pay the most in repairs because of our roads than any other, actually I can't say any other state, but I know the surrounding states. Mm-hmm. We pay more, over $300 and something, I don't know the exact number, people pay to fix their cars based on things that happen driving on our crumbling roads. Yeah. So it's an investment, you know, you'll end up paying less, I'm sure, by voting for this proposal than you will if we do nothing, and then you have to continue repairing your car. Right. So,
well, then I have to ask, because you know, we have a local ballot initiative here too, and our local ballot initiative was put on the ballot through a private signature petition drive. And as you know, the local ballot initiative is to allow mixed spirits to be served in restaurants. And back in 2013, City Council authorized a tavern license ordinance, which provided for beer and wine service at the same restaurants. What are your thoughts? I know, you know, we think of it here as an economic development tool. What are your thoughts?
As a resident, I can comment on it, because obviously it's not necessarily a state issue, it is a local issue. But as a resident, and as someone who has seen progress made here in Oak Park, and I want that progress to continue. I know that you guys are doing a great job, and it is an economic development tool. And so I am a supporter of this proposal. When you know, we were actually one of the last, and you would know this better than I would, but we were one of the last cities in the area, right, that will have you know, that we're able to serve spirits.
No, actually, we are the last.
We are the last, okay.
There are a handful of what they call dry communities throughout the state, and so we are the last in the inner metropolitan area.
Yeah, and I look at it as, you know, again, this isn't a license for bars and other things to open up. This is so that you want to go to dinner, you want to have a nice meal, you can have a glass of wine with your meal, you can have a beer with your meal. It is an economic development tool, because some of those, you know, we have some chains or some restaurants that probably don't want to or didn't want to open up here, because why would they restrict themselves to just serving food when, you know, they want to be able to serve a glass of wine or serve a beer at a meal? And I think that's something important. We want our residents to stay in Oak Park to have a nice meal versus having to go to some of the surrounding cities.
Yeah.
So
one of the things that, and that's a very prudent point, because one of the things, as we did our economic development strategic plan last year, one of the prevailing things that came out of that study was that our residents go to other communities, and we basically outsource our spending potential all over the place, when in fact we could capture that right here in the city proper of Oak Park.
Yeah.
But that brings me to my next question.
Okay.
So, if you could look at Oak Park, you know, 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, what would be your vision for Oak Park and its residents?
Well, I know Oak Park is heading in the right direction. Again, under your leadership and Mayor McClellan and the council members, I know you all are doing a great job. But I know the mayor kind of painted this picture at her State of the City address, and I was imagining this. And I think that would be great to have kind of a central business district area where you can shop. We have unique shops that no other place will have. We'll have restaurants where you can sit outside on a nice evening and you can have a glass of wine or a beer with your meal. Right. I see Oak Park being a place for, and it already is, but to continue that for families, for young families, even for those without families. You know, Detroit, obviously Detroit's growing as well, and we are right across the street from Detroit, and so we want to do everything we can to encourage people to stay here or to move here. You know, this would be a great community. If you work downtown, to live in Oak Park is really convenient, and then you want all those amenities. You want those things that are really important. So this is a step in the right direction, that's for sure, and I see Oak Park being a thriving community for local families, even for our seniors. We want them to be able to get around. You know, if there are things that are close, we want them to be able to walk to the various establishments in Oak Park. And again, this is important for an economic development reason, and then also, again, for our residents, for amenities, and for them to be able to go to these places.
It's quality of life stuff, really, you know.
I couldn't say anything better. It's a quality of life thing. So.
Well, you know, it's wonderful to have your support in Lansing. I know things are not always as friendly up there.
Not always.
But it is wonderful to have your support here locally and fighting the good fight on our behalf. And I want to thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, that's my pleasure. Again, if there's anything I can do for you, for any of the residents, please, our door, you know, it's always open. Call, email, write, go on our website, sign up for the e-blast, and we'll keep you posted. We host coffee hours throughout the district. And again, we want to be available all the time for questions, suggestions, whatever you might need. So again, I appreciate you taking the time to have me here today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now, as always, I have the pleasure of introducing our Director of Public Safety, Steve Cooper. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. As I always do, I think it's important that we inform our residents about some of the ongoing initiatives in our Public Safety Department. Are there things that are coming up? I know we're changing seasons and going from spring and then to summer. Are there things coming up that our residents should be aware of?
Absolutely. As the warmer weather moves in, obviously some of the things that we're always concerned about is the increase in vehicular traffic, and the pedestrians are out walking around. So we would definitely ask our residents to keep that in mind when they're driving to and from their places of travel, and also to our pedestrian traffic to be very mindful of the motor vehicles that are on the roadways here. With the warm weather, like I said, the windows are going to start to open up, and we want to make sure that our residents remain safe and make sure they're securing their doors and windows, and as well as on their homes and their vehicles when they're going to and from their different places of travel.
Absolutely. And, I think a lot of our residents may have noticed, but we have just made a change in the department, as we do on a regular basis. And I know if you could talk a little bit about, number one, what our Community Resources Officer position does, but then number two, who is filling that role now.
Absolutely. Our Community Resource Officer position is very critical and vital to the department, and we handle in that position all of our school programs, our K through 12, where the officer is coming in, talking with the children, giving them all kind of educational tips and updates. There's different dialogue days that they have, such as Career Day, Meet an Officer, and it goes so forth and so on. That position as well meets with the community on a regular basis as far as our block clubs. Usually on Thursdays, our block clubs meet pretty much on a monthly rotational basis, and that position is vital for that function as well. The change that you're talking about as far as taking place in that position, Officer Rulo, as you know, has served in that position for 5 years, and it's a rotational position. And I've rotated Officer Devin Benson into the position. He's a 15-year veteran of the department, and he has served in our Detective Bureau probably for about the last 4 or 5 years. And one of the unique skill sets that he'll bring to that position is the fact that he served as the juvenile detective for a long period of time when he was a detective in the Investigations Bureau. So he has a lot of connections as far as the community, specifically with the schools and Dr. Colbert's staff. So we're very happy about him moving into that position, and I'm anticipating it's going to be a pretty seamless transition. Officer Rulo, like I said, she hasn't retired from the department. She just went back to the patrol function. Yeah. And one of the great things about that as well, when you rotate people through, she'll be able to go back to the road patrol and our operations divisions and continue to do a lot of the initiatives that she started. some of the friendships and relationships that we've developed, they'll just continue to grow and blossom. So we're very happy for the transition here.
Absolutely, and certainly appreciate her efforts and welcome in Officer Benson. So, you know, I wanted you to talk just briefly, if you could, as well, about the plan that you and I have really discussed since my arrival as city manager in the summer of 2012. And that plan was to find a way to restore the ranks in terms of officers on patrol and within our department. As many people know, we had layoffs in early 2012
Correct.
in order to take on some of our financial problems. And, you know, in the fall of 2012, as others know, the approval of Public Act 345 here allowed us the opportunity to rethink some of the staffing levels in our department and try to find a way to begin to replenish. And, you know, number of officers in the department is one indication of, you know, our ability to respond to calls and get out there and deal with issues in our public. Can you speak a little bit about that? Where are we? What kind of progress have we made? And what do we see in the future?
Absolutely. First of all, like I said, a lion's share of the credit goes to your office for making that always a priority. Right now, we've just sworn in our newest public safety officer on March the 16th, and his name is Dwayne Green. And Dwayne comes from the Wayne County Sheriff's Department, so he has some law enforcement experience, and we were happy to bring him aboard. Very high quality, high caliber officer, and we only expect to enhance you know, his skill set as he goes through his training process here in the city of Oak Park. The current status of our officers, with the hire of Dwayne Green, we're at 48 sworn officers, which is obviously a very big improvement from where we were you know, several years ago. We still have 2 budgeted positions in this current fiscal year that we are looking to fill, and we will probably be in the process of submitting ads in the paper. I would say probably another 30 to 60 days to get that process going. So that would bring us up to a total of 50, not including, you know, depending on how the budget works out for the 2015-2016 fiscal year. Right. So we're moving in the right direction. There are a lot of things and initiatives I want to restore. And one that you'll hear me talk about is the bike patrol, the foot patrol, and some of the shopping plazas, and being able to get into schools on a more regular basis to mentor to some of the kids, like I said, get grades K through 12. So we're very hopeful, and I'm very encouraged by the trend that I see as far as the hiring process. And again, I thank you for always making public safety a priority.
Well, thank you. And you know, one of the many things I should say that I most admire about you is that you've delivered a plan to me to go out and try to recruit as diverse a candidate base as possible. And we're now finally starting to see some of the fruits of that labor. And many of the candidates that we've looked at and we've actually hired in the last few years have been from a broader pool of candidates. Could you talk a little bit about some of those things that you did and how that's working out?
Sure. One of the things that we've focused on is, like I said, just getting out everywhere and trying to make the department more diverse, more reflective of the community. You know, I've been to diversity, community fair, recruiting job efforts, and like I said, our newest officer, Dwayne Green, is an African-American officer. As you know, one of our other recent hires, female officer Jessica Charter, that we were able to bring into the department here. So one of the things that we're going to be looking to do here in the future is that we would normally have the officers have to have their police certification upon interviewing or upon employment with the City of Oak Park. And now, with your permission, we're able to include a more broader pool, so you don't have to have necessarily the police certification when you apply. We are willing to look at the candidates and take on the responsibility of sending that person to a police academy as well as a fire academy, and getting them trained and up to speed. One of the other things that we're doing to try and get a broader pool is there's a two-year requirement that you have a minimum of 60 semester hours of college, which is the equivalent of pretty much an associate's degree. And we're going to waive that for our military veterans who have 4 years of military experience and have been honorably discharged. So I'm very excited about that. Absolutely. And I think that's definitely going to, like I said, open up the applicant pool and it's going to be able to give us a more diverse pool to select from. So we'll continue those efforts. We're always looking for different ways to recruit, and like I always say, I'm out recruiting whether it's a hiring process or not, and that's something that I've tried to pass to the rank and file as well. So we'll continue those efforts, and hopefully we'll see a lot of success here.
And I also wanted to ask, I know that we've recently added a chaplain to the department. I was hoping you could talk about that a little bit.
Sure. Mr. Tekach, Howard Tekach is our newest chaplain with the Public Safety Department. Just an outstanding man. Like I said, I've had the pleasure and the opportunity before bringing him into the folds as our chaplain to sit down very extensively and talk with him about different initiatives, what his thoughts were as far as the program. And he has been through an extensive chaplain training program through Mr. James Friedman, one of the chaplains. He's also a pastor, and ironically that you mentioned him, he will be in our Public Safety Department tomorrow to do an 8-hour cultural awareness class that we do pretty much on a yearly basis. And like I said, I'm happy to have Mr. Tekach here, and look forward to doing great things with him.
Well, it goes without saying, but I want to personally thank you for the wonderful job that you're doing on our behalf. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate
And
it.
thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for joining me on this month's edition of Meeting with the Manager. As you can see, there are some wonderful things happening here at the City of Oak Park. We are laser focused on the top 3 priorities, which is public safety, economic development, and code enforcement. Those initiatives and the prioritization of those initiatives will not change, and hopefully we can start seeing them bearing fruit in the days to come. As always, I thank you for your patience, and I thank you for your support. Have a wonderful day.